Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Avid's studio webinar series, Into the Cloud. This is episode 4. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us today. This is, like I said, session 4. If you haven't seen sessions 1, 2, and 3, I would encourage you to do so. They're all available up on YouTube. And basically, those are how we kicked off the series. And today, we're very fortunate enough to have James Irvine with us. James is the account chief technologist at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And real quick, before I have James introduce himself, logistics, if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and hit the Q&A button and ask a question, and we will try and get to the questions at the end. If we don't get to all the questions that get asked during the session, either on the Zoom or if you're watching via a social channel, we will follow up when we send the link for the recording. This will be recorded and this will be emailed out to everyone who signed up. So you will get a link to the recorded version of this when we're done. So today in episode 4, we're going to focus again on hyperconverged infrastructure, but today, obviously from an HPE perspective. So first and foremost, James, welcome and thanks for being on today.
Yeah, hey Ray, thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. So James, I think it makes sense first and foremost to sort of establish some street cred here and have you introduce yourself and talk about your long history in media entertainment.
Yeah. I do have a few road miles working here at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, which started, dare I say it, about 20 years ago when I was given a 6-month assignment to work with one of the studios, and here I am 20 years later still working with the studios. So I've been involved in a number of different initiatives along the way. Some of the early beginnings, file-based editing and file-based workflows. It started sometime around 2004, 2005, and worked with quite a number of the different studios in the area of post-production, and focused a lot on storage, and also spent quite a bit of time doing editorial work in using IT equipment to replace and change a lot of the landscape that was all built around purpose-built appliances. So yeah, I've had quite a run in media and entertainment. I've had responsibility across North America, and now I've just got a very focused responsibility on a few set customers and helping out across the industry.
That's great. Well, thanks, James. And thanks again for being here today. Yeah. So hyperconverged infrastructures, this is something that everyone's looking at, not just within media entertainment, of course, but across the board. When it comes to media entertainment and standing up production environments using HCI, can you just kind of talk about HPE's HCI solution and sort of some of the key components of it?
Sure. Let me go ahead and share a little something to give you some perspective here. So HPE has had a really long history in what was known as end user computing through the years, which is the early signs of VDI and a lot of the solutions built around there. And the personas typically associated with those type of workers were task workers, productivity, office type scenarios where VDI was being used widely and through the years. But over the past several years, the emergence of hyperconverged has really kind of changed that. And so from HPE's perspective, there's not a one size that fits all. We have several different hyperconverged offerings that are available in the market today, as well as through some partnerships with like our friends at Nutanix that run their software on HPE hardware. But we do have some alternative hyperconverged solution offerings in SimpliVity, as well as one which is called disaggregated hyperconverged DHCI, which uses a combination of our Nimble storage as well as our ProLiant servers. But over the last 2 years, the primary area of focus for us as it relates to HCI is using something what is referred to as vSAN ready nodes to build a hyperconverged platform for the purpose of focusing on media and entertainment and media workloads that really hit the high end of the spectrum, 2K resolutions and beyond. So that's really where the thrust of our effort has been, and partnering with companies like Teradici as well as NVIDIA to meet those goals have been what we've been focused on the last couple of years.
Very cool. And artificial intelligence, of course, within the business, people think of it on a number of fronts. It's certainly being adopted in a number of different ways throughout the industry, right? And that's true for your solution too, right? As it relates to HCI and sort of how you guys do a lot of the management there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the things that is happening here, and I'll grab another reference here for you that really kind of talks to what it is that HPE is doing around artificial intelligence. Having the ability to use artificial intelligence to make better decisions around what's going on within the hardware itself is one of the other areas of focus that HPE has been involved in. So not only do our servers, our storage, and our hyperconverged products have built-in artificial intelligence, we acquired a company several years ago by the name of Nimble that started in 2011 doing artificial intelligence for storage. And when we acquired them, we took that artificial intelligence engine and we started applying it to all of the different storage and server technologies within the company, as well as our hyperconverged technologies. And so what you get from that is you get a global database of knowledge and learning and machine learning algorithms that help better predict and prevent issues happening within a hardware infrastructure or a hardware software infrastructure. So you get this rich set of predictive analytics features that can take a look at the version of software that you're running, VMware, and then apply that against a known set of good parameters so that you don't do upgrades and take a system offline or take it out for a number of different reasons. And so you can kind of look at all this, and you can take these cloud-based platform and look at it from a predictive analytics engine, the global learning aspect of it, and then a recommendation engine of whether or not to do an upgrade. And then you couple all that with a differentiated set of benefits of using AI for managing a platform going forward. So that's probably one of the most significant areas that HPE value differentiates itself versus our competition, because I think we have a multi-year lead over the closest competitor.
That's great. So so when it comes to the AI piece, this is doing a lot of that predictive analysis. It's preventing problems before people may even know they even had them.
Correct. Yeah. And so, the philosophy there is really see once, prevent for all. So if it happens to a particular combination at one customer site, because it's a global learning database that all of our customers are sending information up into, that one-time incident that occurs, we can go ahead and blacklist it so that it happens to nobody else. So that's really one of the huge benefits of this.
Oh, very cool. So for people who want to deploy a solution, certainly one where they want maybe some ability to do a DIY, right? Sort of roll your own infrastructure. HP certainly is enabling that in a number of different ways. Can you sort of just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, what we did in the decisions that we made around the different hardware platforms that are available were, we wanted to take the best of the servers that we had, the Proliant servers that we had, and make this easy for customers to deploy. And size and scale played an important role in that. So if it happened to be a fairly small to medium sized environment, you may not want to use, an external storage array or bladed architectures to be able to build out an environment. But as your user install base grows, your needs and your technical requirements change. And so having the ability to make choices around what components that you use for building out these different environments, allowed a lot of flexibility for customers who had the on-staff engineering teams to be able to accomplish building out a solution stack that looks something similar to this. So give me just a second here. So you can see from the pictogram here that any of the sections that are referred to as Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, we have the ability to make server choices or platform choices, whether it be a hyperconverged platform that has all of these different components listed in here, the NVIDIA graphics cards, the hypervisor of choice. So more often than not, you find VMware is really the dominant player in terms of the hypervisor here, but we do have instances and customers that are running KVM. So you have choice in terms of what you want to use there and the hypervisor aspect of it. And then Teradici has obviously, been the really winning key combination for us between that and NVIDIA to really achieve these higher end workflows that are responsible for delivering the media specific capabilities of VDI.
Yeah, Teradici, for sure. We've definitely done a lot with Teradici to enable sort of the distributed workflows and remote access. Certainly post-pandemic, right? That have become so critical to keeping sort of business moving forward, right? So that's good to see. In terms of distributed workflows, where sort of the pandemic has really sort of driven people to have to adjust very quickly, and do so at a time when it's obviously pretty challenging, but at the same time, I think has brought a lot of lessons learned over time in terms of the effectiveness of distributed and remote access type workflows for production environments, right? Specifically editorial, of course, but even asset management, right? And accessing content. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen, right? And what you guys have encountered as it relates to that as this is all sort of unfolded, and sort of what customers are saying to you about this and how ACI can enable that?
Yeah, initially when we started down this path, the entire focus of this high performance VDI was really focused on on-premise workflows, right? But having the ability to move things from maybe the artist's office or cubicle, back to the data center, and then when the pandemic hit, we noticed a huge switch or shift in terms of being able to move a lot of the work remotely, and then trying to determine what workflows lent themselves to doing remote editorial and remote access to the main systems where all the data was. And so, through the set of experiences that we've gained, I think we HPE have a number of different partnerships with Azure, Google, and AWS, and we're starting to figure out of the workflows that we've tackled in the remote side of the equation, which ones are going to be better in a hybrid model versus some that are destined to remain on campus but remote accessible. So we're still doing a lot of work in terms of investigating that, but we are seeing some interesting use cases from Azure where people are running obviously Teradici in Azure, Teradici on premise, but also using some of the Azure directory services capabilities, for security and providing security postures, and some of the other things also around the remote workflow side of it. The equation is HPE owns a company called Aruba, and Aruba Networks is one of the leaders in Wi-Fi, and using that VPN technology to enable some of these different remote workflows that we're starting to do collaboration around.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I think a lot of the feedback that we've heard from customers is, it's not going to go back to the way it was, right? I mean, and part of that is because of what's available, right? People can actually be very effective and be effective doing these remote workflows. And I don't know if you guys are hearing the same thing, but definitely it just seems like, one of the, sort of side effects of this whole thing is the realization that a lot of these technologies existed beforehand. And now people are really leveraging them in ways that maybe they hadn't before. And that's proving both to have a big impact, economically and operationally, right?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, people are going to be looking at where the center of the universe used to be, going to campus, going to the office, going to the studio and working. Now they have the ability to hire talent that may not necessarily be, in the same state as they previously were, or maybe the talent has the ability to move somewhere else that, may be more suiting for the family and such. So I think we're going to see, quite a bit of change in terms of, the way people work, the way people and the studios envision how people are going to work, and how people are going to collaborate in the future. I think is also going to be really important and different as well.
So in terms of common workflows, that you have seen in terms of these deployments, can you talk a little bit about that? I know we have, editorial, we have asset management, certainly different tiers of storage. You mentioned the cloud and the different relationships with the cloud and hybrid environments. What do you typically see in terms of what's sort of the main focus or emphasis, sort of shorter term, and then what do you think longer term?
Well, shorter term, I think everything has really been focused around, what is it going to take to enable the editorial workflows remotely, and be able to gain give people access to the systems that are currently, in the data center, and the best way to do that in a performant way. So, for the short term, that is the problem that most of us are working through, and trying to determine, what are the other intersections with the workflows that can also be maybe considered to support remote work. But that's kind of where we're focused at the moment. In terms of the future, I think that we're going to take things on a case-by-case basis and really understand, what are the latency implications of the applications and the workflows that require, high speed, real time, as near real time as we can get, around sound and other aspects of the creative and editorial process that we're going to need to figure out on a case-by-case basis.
And one of the things we're doing together is we're working on updating sort of the sort of tech white paper, if you will, with sort of best practices, if you will, in terms of deployments, right? I mean, that's one of the areas that we're collaborating on right now.
Yeah. I think there's a section here that I wanted to share with you, Ray. We've done quite a bit of work, as I mentioned, with our friends at Teradici here, but we've also published a few different papers with Teradici as well as NVIDIA, and we're working on one with you, as you mentioned. So, if you go out to this splash page here, there are a number of different solution offerings that are available from HPE and Teradici as well as NVIDIA. And there are reference architectures and white papers that you can download and read to kind of get an understanding of where we are today, and where we're going in the future is obviously with Avid is one of our key priorities around the next version of the reference architectures that will support different generations of processors and different generations of GPU combinations that are not available today.
That's excellent. Yeah, so it's teradici.com, partners HPE. The other big thing here is, of course, Nexus, right? So Avid and Avid's file-based storage system, right? Software-defined storage system, and Nexus in general, right, is a real sort of key component, not only of the Avid infrastructure, but within the industry, right? It's definitely known for, performance, scalability, supporting production environments. Can you talk a little bit about how the Nexus plays basically with the rest of the sort of HPE infrastructure?
Yeah, happy to do that, Ray. When we were going down this path, the one thing that we recognize first and foremost is we're really not going to change the workflows and the way people work today. What we want to do was complement it, and we didn't want to try to introduce new storage solutions or anything like that would complicate the way people are working today. And Avid Nexus is really the gold standard for how people use Media Composer or other editing software programs as well, but really having that media aware storage system built to integrate with how we built our HCI systems. So when we made the selection around doing hyperconverged, we made storage choices that really were only there for the purpose of high availability, as well as just enough storage to host the images that are required for each VM. And in doing that, we were able to keep the cost down for the starting point of any kind of HCI environment that we would build, but we would also then use the network and connect through to Avid Nexus and be able to test and fully verify that the performance of everything was still working as if it were on a bare metal machine. Now we're doing it in a VM. And so if you look at how the architecture follows from left to right, we've got the remote editor going through a VPN that's then hitting the cluster and then doing the editing through the Nexus and looking at the different options that are available back there on the NDI side for executive review and so on and so forth. And then from the on-premise side of the equation, that same user can get access to his same session, whether he was at home or on campus, and still be able to work in the same way that he was accustomed to, whether on-premise or remote in this particular scenario. So you can see who our partner ecosystem is made up of. It's Teradici. LeoStream has become really one of the more popular brokers for us to work with.
Yep.
We're using a little bit of some of the Teradici broker as well. So I won't say it's limited to Leostream, but there's been an increase in interest in the Teradici broker, and then our good friends at NVIDIA, of course, are vital to the solutions that we're developing here.
And there's security and redundancy options here built throughout, right? I mean,
yeah, we've got a number of different security options available, not only from the network and the VPN side of things, but we also have one of the most secure servers in the world. The HPE Secure Root of Trust in every single server has its own silicon immutable imprint, so that you can't hijack a server and surreptitiously take over through the BIOS. We have the ability to lock out those type of threats that come through the hackers and various nefarious characters. So yeah, we definitely have one of the most secure offerings out there in the market today.
Very cool. And you mentioned Nutanix earlier today, or earlier in the conversation rather. So if someone wanted to, right, and if they wanted to do a Nutanix implementation, they could certainly do that with HPE, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Ray. What we've been partnering with Nutanix for the better part of a year and a half, maybe somewhere in that time frame. And in that time frame, we HPE have been one of the fastest growing OEMs for them, and so they spent the engineering time to deploy their software on our hardware, select types of servers. And the real benefit of that is having the work that Nutanix has done with Avid, for example, and for the customer who doesn't have the real technical engineering staff available to be able to deploy a system, the Nutanix HPE combo is definitely one of the right choices there.
It's I know, like I said, I know we had them on the last series, and they definitely got some good reviews from our guys in terms of simplicity and sort of out of the box functionality, right? And and so that's another good option, right? So in terms of some of the trends, James, as you look sort of out in your crystal ball there, beyond AI, right? That will further impact HCI and HCI as a sort of platform for deploying production and architectures on. What are you guys starting to either see or work on that catches your eye?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're really focused on, and you're hearing more about this in the marketplace today, but HPE has been focused on this for the better part of a decade, but in the last several years, where we bring these subscription-based services to on-premise the use of computing. So we refer to that as the cloud we bring to you, but basically having a cloud-like subscription model for hardware that's on-premise. So it gives you the cloud experience. It allows you to deploy a technology based on a workload type. So for example, in the case of our discussion today, around HCI, you could deploy through our as a service model, a Nutanix system, and be able to get that up and running. And the flexibility in how we manage this, it gives you multi-cloud access. So if you happen to have a Azure or AWS instance, our SaaS-based control plane will allow you to gain access to your existing cloud environments, but also give you access and visibility into your on-premise hardware solution that would be deployed from us. So this is one of the trends that is moving the industry in general, is everything that HPE sells and offers today will be available as a service in the future, in the coming years. And how you purchase technology going forward is going to change. And I'll give you an example of that. If you look at VDI and buying a system today, maybe you need 20 or 30 users, and you buy and you size a system accordingly. Well, how great would it be if we could put a small footprint on premise for you that supported maybe 10 users today, and then if you needed to add 10, 20, or 30, we have elasticity in the system and a buffer built in that would allow you to maybe turn on an extra 10 or 20 users. And then if they happen to finish a project and you wanted to ramp it back down, having the ability to turn that back down. So that is really kind of the future of where technology is going. It's going to be focused on workloads. It's going to be sold to you on a per VM basis potentially. and it really is going to change the way we think and buy hardware in the future.
That's amazing. I mean, that's one of the sort of results of several studies too, sort of during the pandemic, right? There's a significant shift by media companies to as a service type models right across the board. So that's subscription-based software offerings, but it's also the cloud, but it's also what you're talking about here too, right? I mean, it's about sort of on-demand access to not just services, but infrastructure, and being able to then sort of treat that as an OpEx and allow you, as you said, to sort of only pay for what it is that you're using.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the flexibility of what everybody's trying to achieve. And, we predicted many years ago that the world would be hybrid. And, we're starting to see that come to fruition now, right? Where we're looking at production workflows being in the cloud and on premise, and then, striking that balance between how much needs to be on premise, how much do you need to pay for in CapEx, and how much do you need to pay through a subscription models such as this in the GreenLake side of things.
So what you're saying too is that people are able to then almost have burst capacity in a way, right? So you're more or less putting infrastructure in that can basically scale beyond maybe what they originally anticipated without having to, basically truck in a bunch of gear, right?
Yeah, so we can design the buffer flexibility up front with you. So we'll typically sit down with our customers and understand, over the course of a year or even 2 years, how far do you envision your burst capabilities need to go? So if we are talking about it in the context of users, if it happens to be 20 users, bursting up to 50, we put enough gear on the floor and allow you to burst into that. And then when you go back down, you have a baseline of operation that maybe is only 20 users, and then you just go back to your baseline.
Wow, so that's pretty amazing. Very cool. If anybody has any questions, we only have a few minutes left, so I'll throw it out there. You can use the Q&A button to ask James a question. If not, I'm just going to keep going. So James, when you look at in terms of these types of deployments, what's the time frame you think this will be sort of available? Is this out there today, or is this coming soon? Or
yeah, so it's available today, and again, the portfolio offering has a roadmap, and there are early VDI instances available, not the ones specifically for the media and entertainment built on the HPE reference architecture, but this is available today through Nutanix, for example. If you did want to consume Nutanix through a as a service offering, that is available today.
Oh, wow. That's good to know too. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of like when you engage on these types of deployments, and then when I say you, HPE, when you guys engage on some of these types of opportunities, it's a services engagement, right? You're looking at what the media company wants to accomplish, you're laying out a plan, and then you're basically implementing it over a phased approach. Of course, nowadays, those phases have gotten much shorter, right? Because everybody wants to do this faster rather than, in the past where it was kind of like a side project. Do you find that people are trying to accelerate these types of deployments and get there faster?
Yeah, we're seeing that as a common theme these days out in the field here. And the other side of this is once you have some of this as a service infrastructure in place, it's a lot easier for us to grow new environments or new workloads or new capabilities. So if you happen to deploy something that was unique and specific to VDI or HCI, and you needed to do something that was just straight virtualization, we could add that to your existing contract and get that up and running for you in a expedited type fashion. And then you can forego a lot of the capital expend and budget type of things that you would normally have to do if you wanted to buy, $500,000 or $1 million worth of hardware. So
yeah. Wow. Well, so Avid and HP have certainly got a long history, right, of delivering solutions for media and entertainment, including broadcast, post-production, and everything in between.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're kind of at the end of our time. I wanted to see, is there anything else you'd want to sort of just let everybody know as we sort of wrap this up?
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity, Ray. I mean, Avid's really an important partner for us, has been for a very long time. As you know, you guys OEM our servers, you OEM'd our technology from us, our workstations at one point in time. And, we're welcoming, working with the different partners and innovation companies out there to create more relevant solutions for the media and entertainment vertical. And so, we've chosen a couple of areas of focus, which out of the gate was studios, episodic television, and news. But we're also welcome to engaging in other areas and points of interest. So.
Very cool. Well, James, thanks again. If I don't talk to you again, have a great holiday. I want to thank everyone else for joining today. Thank you for your time. This will be recorded and we will send this out. And if we don't talk to all of you again before the holiday arrives, please have a good one. And we'll see you all on the other end of the year with a few more of these sessions that we look forward to. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Cool. Thank you, Ray.